Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. This is a very special episode. We have Kyle Scott with us. Kyle is the president of SERHANT Ventures and actually helped to take the SERHANT digital product business global. And they're now over 100 countries, 6 continents, and Kyle is responsible for all of that growth. So if you have heard of the SERHANT brand in the real estate industry, this is the reason of it. Kyle, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Always good to see you, Chris.
Awesome. So I would love to get into your background a little bit because you weren't always in the digital product business. Your background is technically in broadcast journalism. So could you give us a little bit of your background and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I love this story. For me, it's all about curiosity. Like, how do you find that next thing right around the corner? And that's really been the story of my career. So I went to Cornell for applied economics and management with a concentration in accounting and finance. So I always thought I was going to go into banking, finance, right? Turns out, senior year of college, I ended up running my college radio station, fell in love with the media business, and applied to NBC Universal's PAGE program, which is this incredible entry-level, highly selective program. There's a great New York Times article about it. You should read it if you don't know what the PAGE program is. But that was my entry point into really what became journalism and became learning about the media business. So after the PAGE program, for about 4 years or so, I shuffled between sort of broadcast news, NBC Nightly News, Today Show, NBC News specials. Right in the middle, I did a 2-year internal consulting engagement helping remake culture, workflow, technology across the NBC Universal News Group. So this was a project that was run and commissioned by the chairwoman of NBC Universal at the time, Billy Krischel. I was working for the senior vice president of NBC News Specials, who's also the executive in charge of this project. And I really got to see, by sitting in meetings every week, the president of NBC News, president of MSNBC, president of CNBC, the CFO, the chairwoman, right, who reported directly to the CEO of NBC Universal, understood how they thought about the business and understand the real guts of what makes a media business run. And it's not the pretty cameras and lights that you see on the Today Show. It's how does the media feed into the business? How is the news desk staffed? How does information flow between people in a way that allows for a breaking news story to actually make it onto air? What are the finances behind all of that? Very interesting. Did that for 2 years. Then moved to digital for the Trump-Clinton election in 2016. Covered that. And then launched a vertical called NBC News Better at a time when advertisers were starting to run away from traditional news because it became so divisive in a world of Trump.
Yeah.
At that time, we had to find a strategy for how do we attract advertisers, and what better way to do it than to create a digital vertical that helps make our audience's lives better. So it's called NBC News Better. As the first video producer, created an editorial strategy, created like what do the videos look like, what do they sound like, what is the cast of characters, all of that. And then I met Ryan. And at that time, I was at NBC for 9 years or so. Wow. And I realized, like, for my career, I couldn't stay there for too much longer. Because if I had crossed over 10, I would have been the guy who's been at NBC News forever. And it was the only job I ever had out of college. So I started thinking, do I really want to stay in news? And I figured, maybe not, but let me look outside. So I pitched Ryan the idea of a freelance project, as I was doing work on the side nights a week to sort of expand my horizons. What would it look like to take your best-selling book and turn it into a course? He said, sure. I did that nights and weekends for a year. We launched it. I did $500,000 in 2 weeks. There was a news article, and I think it was the New York Post, about it. Ryan made back his initial investment in 8 hours.
Wow.
That does not happen in a business. Ryan hired me, and here we are, 110 countries later, nearly 14,000 enrollees, all 6 continents. Well, there's 7 continents, we're not in Antarctica. Although, if you are a SERHANT person in Antarctica, please write to us. I'd like to add that 7th continent to our list. But we are now this pretty significant real estate subscription business, helping real estate agents worldwide learn how to grow their limitless livelihood through mass service sales. Sales is the greatest career in the world. Yeah. I would have never said that when I was at NBC and being a journalist, but now I understand it. and I feel it, and I love it. And we're just getting started. We have massive expansion plans. I can't share yet, but those 14,000 enrollees in 110 countries are about to become much, much bigger over the next 12 to 18 months.
That is incredible. And I get to see all the forward momentum online and all of the happy customers and all of that. But take me back to the genesis of the actual product itself. So you had the idea and you hadn't even really made any inroads. You didn't have any experience in making a digital product. So can you tell me what that looked like when you reached out to Ryan? How did you approach that? How did you package that all together?
Yeah. This is a long story. I will give you the cliff notes because it took me a long time. And this was, if I write a book someday, the story of how I did this is the first chapter of the book.
Nice.
Because but it is a long story, and I haven't quite packaged it yet how I want to tell it. But here's what I'm going to say. I was watching my wife. I remember I was doing like freelance work for like a friend who was a client, and I was still at NBC at the time. And my wife was watching $1 Million Listings. It was 2017.
Okay.
She was like, "Hey, you should interview that guy, Ryan Serhant." I said, "Who's Ryan Serhant?" So, the star of $1 Million Listing. $1 Million what? Who? Bravo? I don't think so. And I sat down and I watched him on $1 Million Listing Secret. I was like, oh, this guy's on to something. I think this guy has something. So I pitched an idea to my sort of executive producer while I was developing Better, this vertical, and I said, we should do a series about how successful people organize their offices. Because on the show I saw behind Ryan in his office said, "In Serhant we trust," and that was very interesting to me. Like, how did this celebrity, I put in air, this real estate celebrity, organize his office? Like, really successful business guy. The sort of, it's a character in the show, The Office. We should go to. So that's how I initially met Ryan. And then I got to know his head of social, a guy named Joe Laresca. Ultimately, and this is a very long story short, I'll have to save this story for when I'm ready to finally tell the whole thing. But, ended up, Joe reached out to me and asked me to produce Ryan's audiobook commercial for his book.
Okay.
Did that. And then I wrote Ryan in an email. Expansion always in all ways was the subject line. I still have that email. It's my Gmail. Basically said, "Hey, I have ideas for how we can keep working together. Let me come in and pitch you on what that could look like." Now, what I would say, and this is the lesson in all of this, is if you ever want to pitch something, you have to earn trust first. Especially someone like Ryan, who is, can hire anyone, can do anything he wants. Like, he doesn't need some random producer coming in and being like, "Here's my idea." You have to show that trust first. And how did I do it? NBC coming and adding value to him. Ryan needs more exposure. How are we adding value to him? Joe, who works for Ryan, is the gatekeeper, one of the many gatekeepers, then came to me asking me to add value. So instead of me going out, "Hey, here's how I get it," they asked me to add value. And I didn't really talk to Ryan. Like, Joe hired me, not Ryan, to do this sort of side project, the audiobook commercial. Then I produced and delivered on that, and only after I delivered on it did I earn the right to email Ryan and say, "Hey, I have an idea. You know me from this. May I also suggest this?"
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The course was like number 8 on a list of ideas. It was not idea number 1 that I pitched. It was like idea number 8. But it was also the easiest and the easiest to do out of all of the ideas. And we did it. It turns out idea number 8 was the best idea ever.
That is incredible. And you so eloquently put out the value equation that I think so many people in our industry miss, because we sit at the connection point of real estate agents and mortgage lenders. So we have a ton of mortgage lenders in our sphere, and we're constantly introducing them to real estate agents. And so we make the phone calls and set up the appointments so that the mortgage guy can talk to the real estate guy or gal. And so when that happens, we're constantly trying to coach, bring value, have that first initial discussion on what are their needs, what are their pain points, what are the things that they're interested in. And so many lenders are leading with like, "Here's my products, here's my services, I close on time, here's what I do." And so that mentality of just value first. So knowing real estate agents as well as you do, and having over 14,000 people gone through the coaching program at this point, what would you say is the number one value add that another service provider like a mortgage lender or insurance agent could bring to a real estate agent to get their ear, to get that actual value to them?
Yeah, because the mortgage lender's goal, right, is to be the go-to mortgage lender for the real estate agent, right?
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
We know, for what we say here at SERHANT, it's fast response and credibility with the client.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the day, you have to prove that you can do that. Like when a deal is on the line, that real estate agent's commission check is on the line,
yeah.
And they need to be able to trust that you as the mortgage lender can respond to emails quickly, can resolve those issues with your mortgage company, and get the mortgage done in a way that keeps the client happy.
Yep.
That is your big value add, the ability to secure financing in a timely, efficient manner that also is like part of makes the real estate agent look good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like you do not provide, I know the rates better than anyone else. Anyone could go to like the newspaper and look up the rates.
Yep.
You go to CNBC and the rates, right? It's also not about like your offerings at mortgage brokerage A versus mortgage brokerage B. We always say people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. It's about you and your ability as a person to deliver that service, and less so about what ABC giant lender has and their adjustable rate, 5-year ARM versus 7-year ARM. It doesn't matter. Yeah. They're all competitive at the end of the day, and they're all sort of the same.
Yep.
But what is different is that unique relationship that you build. And the question becomes, Chris, how do you build a relationship?
Yeah.
How do you become that go-to person? And that is where providing real world value matters to be able to get to the door in the first place.
Yep.
Once you're in the door, your value is fast response time and get the mortgage done.
Yep.
Fast, quick. To earn that, how do you build a friendship? How do you build a relationship? And the way to do that in mortgage is always compliment the other real estate agent on something that they did. Hey, I just saw you close that house on Levy Lane that was listed 3 times, and you were the person to close it. Awesome. How'd you do it?
Yeah.
Make them extra ego. Make them feel great. Build like that first contact. It's never, hello, I am a fast mortgage agent, and I can serve you and your clients. No one cares.
Yep.
What people care about is compliment them, start the conversation, and as you get to know them, they should understand by you doing the action that you were asked to respond on an email, and then they'll get it, and then then they can give you the first client, and then you can go from there.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And go deep. Like, don't just try and contact as many real estate agents as you possibly can. Take the time, get on their social, engage in their content, figure out what listings they're selling so that you can do that deep research so that you can actually have a meaningful conversation with them when you reach out. So that's incredibly valuable. Now, one other thing that I wanted to make sure that we got in the short time that we have together is you architected one of the most successful launches when you actually launched the program. Over 6 figures in sales in the first day. So I'm wondering how you approached that from a marketing perspective, media perspective, the product, the technology. How did you put together one of the most successful launches ever?
All business comes back to understanding customer psychology at the end of the day. Something that worked particularly well with this one was the pricing strategy. I always talk about the pricing strategy. So, have you ever heard of the case study of the bread maker from Williams Sonoma, the Williams Sonoma bread maker from the 1990s?
No.
Okay, so here's the deal. This is pricing strategy. Williams Sonoma introduced a product. It was a bread maker for like $247 in the mid-90s. They're like, bread maker. Doesn't everyone want to make bread? It was the only product like it, right? New technology, but no one bought it. And they're wondering, why? Well, it turns out that the only people who were buying it were like professional bread makers, like bakers who want to bake at home. So the mass market had no appeal. So they have this idea, okay, this $247 product is not selling as much as we want. Professionals are buying it. Let's add a higher price point and get those professionals who are at $247, let's get them to like the $400-something product in order to get more from this very small audience.
Okay.
What ended up happening was the $247 product started selling off the shelf. Why? Why was it the cheaper product wasn't selling before, but only when you introduced the bigger product did that one start selling? Has to do 100% with price anchoring. I
Okay.
don't know that I need a bread maker. Who really needs to make bread at home? But that, that 247 product seems like a reasonable product when the full featured one costs 400. Maybe I can make bread at home. I'm a recreational bread maker, sure. And I started buying. So I took that, and I took the Goldilocks effect, which is people tend to buy a price point in the middle and combine the two. And we launched with 3 products. We launched with $4.99 digital self-paced course, $4.99 plus $9.99 for an ongoing membership, and then we had the $10,000 product. Did not expect anyone to buy the $10,000 product. That's one-on-one coaching with Ryan and his team. By the way, 8 people bought it over the first 2 weeks, which is crazy to me.
Wow.
Like through e-commerce, sell a $10,000 product. That's a different story for another time. But most people bought that middle price point exactly as I intended, because middle price point Goldilocks. Well, I don't need the super one, but for $10, I can get a Q&A with Ryan. I can get books, guides, and templates. I can get access to a real estate community. I can get this. I can get that. Awesome. I'll spend the $10, and I can cancel it at any time. So most people ended up going there, because when you look at it, like, okay, this isn't that much more expensive than $4.99. The other one's crazy. Let's go with the middle.
Wow.
Simple. If we had gone to market with just a $4.99 product, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
there's no anchoring. Is that a lot? Is that a little? Is that I don't know. For Ryan's ideas, $500. Oh, that's a lot of money. $5,000.
Right.
What else can I do? That's a grocery bill for a month. Right? It's a
Yeah.
lot of money. So that is what I ultimately attribute. And obviously Ryan's brand. I mean, Ryan's been doing it, so he really had a big brand.
Right.
But combine those two, strategy with brand, and we ended up in a really good place.
That is amazing. So, taking the incredible successes from previous, what do you have planned moving forward? What's for the brand right now? What should people be watching out for as you've got 2023?
Yeah, we'll be launching the final course in our signature series. It's our closing and negotiation course. We saved that one for last. Really, one big reason, which is real estate agents have one job: generate leads.
Yep.
The first thing you have to solve for as a real estate agent is expanding your funnel.
Yep.
You can be the best closer in the world. If you have no one to close, it doesn't matter. Right?
Yep.
So we do that through real estate by building a clear, compelling, memorable personal brand, because people hate being sold, but they love shopping with brands. So we solve that problem first. Then, once you get, with our personal brand course, right? We solve that problem first with our personal brand course. Once you get those leads, you have to do something with them. You have to follow up, you have to follow through, you have to follow back, you have to put your systems and processes in place to take them from lead to close. So we introduced our business in a box course.
Okay.
All about business systems and processes, because you are the CEO of me. You are not your HR department. You are not your contact manager. You are not the IT department.
Yep.
You are a real estate agent whose job is to generate leads and close deals. What do you do in the messy middle? Tell you how to do it. Take our business in a box course. Implement it. Just follow the blueprint. No, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yep.
Finally, you solve those 2 problems. Great. Let's close some deals. We have our closing and negotiation course that's launching March 15th, or launched March 15th, depending on when this comes out. That is all about what Ryan calls the Kodo mindset. And you'll find out what that means when you buy the course.
I love it.
Okay, it's the secret that a lot of salespeople, you see this all the time, will think about their sales process in terms of phases. I am in the lead generation phase. I am in the discovery phase. I am now qualifying. I am now taking them out to tour. That is not the way to look at it, because you're setting yourself up for a process and not for a close.
Yep.
When you use the Kodo mindset, you are closing them from day one. The first time you meet them, you're setting expectations. You are finding out who the players are in the deal. You're putting ideas in their mind based on the actual unique problems that they have. So when you end up in what you would look at as a traditional closing phase, that was time to actually sign a deal, you've already done the heavy lifting in framing thoughts and beliefs early in the process and setting expectations. So the decision they were made is the story that you've been telling this whole time.
Yeah.
And you can always call back to what you talked about on day one. The problems you identified on day one and the way that you set it up. That is what you're going to have to learn how to do in our closing and negotiation course. So really excited about that. Also decoupling memberships. You'll be able to join membership, by as a standalone, which we're really excited about.
That is phenomenal. Well, Kyle, thank you for being so generous with your time. Where do listeners go to find out more about you, socials? Where do you want to direct people that are listening to this episode that want more?
Check me out on Instagram at Kyle Scott Original. Also go to our website, ryanserhant.com/course. Check out everything that we're doing in Salt Lake Serhant World. You can also follow it on my Instagram though, because I post about it all the time. Really excited to be here. Thank you, Chris, for having me on. And I want to leave with this thought, which is sales at the end of the day is the greatest career in the world.
Yeah.
Like no one will ever tell you made too much money. No one will ever tell you that your lifestyle is too expensive, because if you're good at it, whoever is paying you to sell their stuff is going to be so happy.
Yeah.
They're going to be so happy that you made $1 million this year. Great job. So that is what we want to build, and we want to help as many salespeople as we can reach whatever potential that they want to reach.
That is amazing. Well, again, Kyle, thank you for being on the show. And all our listeners, make sure that this gets the 5-star review that it deserves for the incredible content that we got here today. Head on over to iTunes, leave us with a 5-star rating and review. And when you're on social, make sure you like, comment, and share this information. Let's get this out, because this is better for everybody in our industry. Again, thanks for listening.